Yeah, well, A Grand Day Out, where did it come from? It came from somewhere in the recesses of, I mean, I've always kept sort of sketchbooks, and when I started at film school, I was constantly wondering what I would come up with for my main kind of graduation project. And, went back to these sketchbooks where I was coming up with different story ideas and had this, I think the place it really clicked was I had all these ideas floating around. I did a student placement at Boreham Wood at at the studios there where they were filming The Dark Crystal, Jim Henson, Frank Oz film. And I was like tea boy, making tea for the special effects team, and I was seeing how they were doing stuff, and I wasn't allowed to do anything, but I was observing everything, and I just felt lit up with this idea by working there of the things I could do. And it all fitted in with these ideas I had of this guy that builds a rocket and goes to the moon, and just as a kind of picnic, really, a day out. And he had to have somebody to talk to and a kind of helper. And so that's where Gromit developed, and this duo, and came up with the names Wallace and Gromit. In the very early stages, Gromit was a cat, and I've often had a story that I just found a dog easy to make out of plasticine, which is kind of true because of the longer, especially a large dog like Gromit, more like a beagle or a Labrador, so he had long, thick legs and a bigger body and separate head and separate big ears. So that was more manageable with plasticine to animate. You can get because you're animating it by hand and sort of resculpting and moving every frame. So it's much easier to get your fingers around Gromit's ears, for example, to move them. I did actually plan to give Gromit a voice to begin with. In the early days at film school, I was recording Peter Sallis for the voice of Wallace, and I also went to a famous kind of voice artist called Peter Hawkins, who was doing on stuff for TV in the 60s and 70s, children's TV, Bill and Ben, The Wooden Tops. It's because of the way he did a character called Spotty Dog, which was like a growly dog voice, but you could tell he was speaking, and I had this idea that Gromit would repeat things Wallace said, like set coordinate to 62 West Wallaby, and Gromit would come out, better than that, but it, like mimicking Wallace, and that was the idea. And then I just discovered that it was a lot of work to animate everything because it was hard. In the first shot I did at film school, it was quite hard to kind of get my fingers round and resculpt his mouth every time. And I just discovered it was easier to move his brow up and down, and that seemed to give him a voice without him saying anything. And it was an economy, really, but it was a great, it worked out so well against the extrovertness of Wallace to have an introverted dog suddenly. And so out of practicality, that's how Gromit was born, out of in a way, the limitations of plasticine. It was a plus, It worked out well for Gromit, didn't it, lad?